வணக்கம் உறவுகளே, நாங்கள் இப்போ எங்கே நிற்கிறோம்னு சொன்னால் நோவா ஸ்கோஷியா. இன்றைக்கு 3ஆம் நாள். நோவா ஸ்கோஷியாவும் ஒரு கிராமப்புறமாக தான் இருக்குது. இப்போ தான் நாங்கள் நோவா ஸ்கோஷியாவுக்கு என்டர் பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம். நான் நியூ பிரான்ஸ்விக்கில் உங்களுக்கு ஏற்கனவே சொல்லியிருக்கிறேன், ஹோட்டலில் தங்கி நாங்கள். அது ஒரு 70 வருட பழமை வாய்ந்த ஒரு ஹோட்டல் உண்டு. இப்போ 3ஆம் நாள் நோவா ஸ்கோஷியாவில் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி வந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். போய் இன்றைக்கு சில விடயங்கள் பார்க்க போகிறோம். அது சம்பந்தமான காணொலி உங்களுக்கு தொடர்ச்சியாக வரும், பாருங்கள். இது இன்றைக்கு நோவா ஸ்கோஷியாவின் அந்த வெல்கம் சென்டர் உள்ளுக்கு என்னன்னு சொல்லி காட்டுறேன்.
Everybody good? Who brought this beautiful day? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this day. I'm Dave, your operator. We're going to get you around the city, in the water, back here safe and sound. Before we go, we have some safety issues. All right, under your seat there's a keyhole life jacket. You don't have to bring them out. They're there. I counted them this morning. Yeah, and we're going to demonstrate how to put these on. There's 3 steps. All right, step 1, over your head. Woof! You don't have to do it like that, just gentle. All right. Step 2, tie those small straps. Keeps the jacket on your body. Step 3, behind your back. Notice where Noah ties. Jonah, Noah. On his belly. Do not tie here. That will put you like that. You'll probably be a statistic. And I'll have paperwork. So please, on your person with those long straps. We have a life raft in the stern. The boarding station's right there with the red, white lettering on the rail. You must stay seated during the land. If I hit the brakes for somebody walking out in front of me or a scooter and you fall on this boat, you're going to get hurt. Metal everywhere. So please stay seated. When I get on the water, I have no brakes. Feel free to get up, stretch your legs, take a picture on the water. The other thing is make sure the young people and the young people at heart are not reaching outside. There's going to be buses, scaffolding, delivery trucks, fencing, signs right beside us. So if you've got your arm out and you get hit, it's going to hurt. So please keep all your arms and legs and toes and everything inside.
Through Halifax. Good to know we've got lots of energy. You know, a lot of people, they think that these vessels run on diesel, but actually they run on enthusiasm. So it sounds like we've got a full tank and we should be good to go. Now, like was mentioned, everyone, my name is Jonah and I'm going to be your tour guide today. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Really? A guy named Jonah on the boat with us? Is that such a good idea? Well, look over there, we've got buskers going on, lots of events happening here in the city. That is amazing. Great. Couple of things about me before we get started. So I am born and raised here in Halifax, which makes me not a Halifaxer, not a Halifaxian. It makes me a proud Haligonian. Yes, that's what people from Halifax are called, Haligonians. It's a bit of a silly word, but we do love it here. Way back in the day, I went to Dalhousie University here in Halifax. It is one of the 6 colleges and universities. To see the beautiful harbor there, and of course, we've got the old town clock. So this clock in front of us here is an icon of the city. It was originally built and commissioned in 1800 by Sir Edward, Duke of Kent. He ran the fort up on the hill, and he commissioned the clock so that all of these soldiers living on Barrack Street would stop showing up late to work on the hill. And now, well, us Haligonians, we are never late because we always have a big clock to make sure that we are on time. Over on the left side here is the entrance to Fort George. This is where you would go if you want to learn more about the inside of the fort. They do historical reenactments. They're all dressed up in some of the original dress of the time. Everything is preserved just how it was way back in the day. And so it's a great place to go to learn some more about the history of the inside. But since we are on the outside of the Citadel, we're going to learn some about the fortifications of this thing. So, first of all, you may have noticed that the road is very twisty and turny. That is because from a bird's eye view, the Citadel is actually built in the 8-pointed star, which is also known as the Bastion Formation. The idea here would be that you would mount cannons on either side of each point of the star to provide close to 360 degrees of cover in case of invasion. The other main fortification is this big pit that you see all along the outside. This is known as a dry moat and is anywhere from 10 to 15 feet deep, depending on where you are. The way that this would work is you would let the grass grow very tall on either side of the pit, and then if anyone was charging up the hill to attack you, they wouldn't exactly see where they'd be going, and they would hopefully walk straight off into the pit where they would promptly be captured. Now, it's at this point in the tour that I have to tell you all the most boring fact about Halifax. This is a natural amphitheater here in the city. It is home to all kinds of events and festivals that happen throughout the summer. Just this past weekend, we had our Halifax Pride event 2 weekends ago here in the Garrison grounds. A couple weeks before that, we had the Halifax Music Festival with headlining acts such as Weezer and The Chicks, and we always have a comedy festival here as well. But yet, the harbor, and we also sometimes have a model of the Titanic, which we will not see the full-size version of later in the harbor for obvious reasons. A Victorian Gardens also has to have at least 4 different species of plants and trees. Our gardens have over 140 different species of plants and trees. So it is a great place to go and check out all kinds of beautiful flowers, trees, vegetables, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, the paths of the Victorian Gardens need to be wide enough to accommodate 2 women wearing Victorian hoop skirts walking side by side. That doesn't happen as often in Halifax as it used to, but it has proven the perfect place to get photos. Those extra wide paths are always full of people taking wedding photos, prom photos, graduation photos, you name it. It's a beautiful place to go and get some snaps of you and your favorite people. 2014. It has won a number of architectural awards. It's made to look like a bunch of books all stacked on top of each other. It's got a green rooftop patio and a big atrium from the ground floor all the way up to the 4th floor. It's a beautiful place to go and spend an afternoon and maybe read a couple books. Now, when the new one opened, and it has been sitting here empty ever since. And that is because buried underneath the library and actually under the street ahead of us, all the way down into the graveyard on our right, is one massive unmarked grave of about 12,000 bodies. About 1,200 of them are marked graves in the old burying ground on our right. Some of the oldest graves in the city dating from 1749 until about 1844, and the rest are unmarked graves. Some of the original settlers and colonizers that first came here to Halifax. What a humongous splash! Can we give a big round of applause for Captain Dave, everyone? Oh no, we got some water up here in the front. Here, let's got some paper towel, right? We have some over here, Dave. Well, we've got some cloths here if you need it. Does anyone see any paper towel? We used to have some here on the boat, but maybe it got lost. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is under the seat. Someone was stealing it. At the big splash there. It's hard to control sometimes with the tides. Well, welcome everyone. We have made it to the Halifax Harbor. Over there is the Navy base. Like I said, it is the largest Navy base in Canada. You can't see very many ships right now, so it's a little less impressive, but that's okay. We will see some more ships as we cruise down the waterfront. Now, the Halifax Harbor is the second deepest naturally ice-free harbor in the world, which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically what that means is that at our deepest, we are 70 meters deep. Oh, you need some... You all right? At our deepest, we are 70 meters deep, but on average closer to 25-30 meters. And even though Halifax does get very cold, icy, and snowy in the winter, the harbor itself never freezes over. That is very important for making sure that the waterfront can work all year long for shipping, research, and the military. Now, over here on the right, we have Purdy's, and as you can tell, they get reflected in the big, beautiful windows. However, they also tend to get very, very hot, sort of like a giant greenhouse. What they do to cool these buildings down is they've installed something called geothermal cooling. So how that works is basically they siphon cold harbor water into the buildings where it gets circulated around, sort of like how your fridge works, and then sent back out into the harbor. It helps them save about $100,000 a year on electricity costs and is a great way to use your natural environment to your advantage. A little bit further down, this building with the green roof here is the Marriott Hotel. It is a great big old hotel here on the waterfront, and you can see that they have some murals here on the side. Those are for students from the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design to paint and show off their artwork. And it's nice for us guides on the Harbor Hopper because it gives us something new to look at every once in a while. A little bit further down are these blue, red, and white buildings. These are the historic properties, also sometimes referred to as Privateer's Wharf. For those of you who don't know, a privateer is essentially a pirate, but they've got permission. And we're going to be pirates right now. We're going to board the other Harbor Hopper. Folks, get ready to jump across and go steal their loot. No, just kidding. Good thing nobody jumped. I was just joking. But yes, Privateer's Wharf. A privateer is basically a pirate. And the reason that they're called a privateer is because they have an agreement with the Queen. The Queen tells these privateers that they, in times of war, these pirates will fight on the side of the monarchy, and then in times of peace, they will not be given the death sentence. That makes it so these privateers know that they're safe. Ferry over to Dartmouth and see what they have to offer. There are some really cute restaurants and cafes over in Dartmouth. I believe they have a market on Sundays as well, and so it's a great place to go and visit. And if you want to take the ferry, it goes every 15 minutes. It takes about, I would say, 10 minutes to get across and costs $3. So not a bad way to see some more of the water. This red building in front of us is the Cable Wharf. This is one of the oldest buildings on the waterfront. It used to house all of the old telegraph and telephone cables that they would lie across the bottom of the harbor and across the Atlantic when those were brand new technologies. This made communication a lot easier and quicker for people, and we could start in the bottom and a dance floor on top. They do karaoke tours, dance tours, you name it, lots of stuff going on the Harbor Queen. And then the Kawartha Spirit is another vessel that does tours all the way over to George's Island, which we'll see a little bit later on the water. All right, folks, as we take this next corner around the Cable Wharf here, you're going to see the newest addition to the waterfront, this great big complex called the Queen's Mark. This is a 5-star hotel called the Muir. It also has offices, condos, and all kinds of local restaurants and businesses in the ground floor. In the very middle there is what looks like a sort of avant. This next building here is the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic with the nautical flags all along the outside. It is a great museum with exhibits all about the Halifax explosion as well as the Titanic. And the largest exhibit is the CSS Acadia, an old Canadian science vessel right in front of us here. Next to the CSS Acadia is the HMCS Sackville. This is the full-size version of the model that we have in the public gardens, and it is an old World War II era vessel known as a Flower-class corvette. It is the last of the 200 that were originally built for the Second World War, and this one you also can take little self-guided tours of it for a small donation fee. Finally, I have one more ship to point out to you. It is visiting a bit more about the history of Halifax.
இது நாங்கள் இப்போ ஹலிஃபேக்ஸில் அந்த லேண்டில் போய் அந்த சிட்டியை சுற்றி பார்த்துட்டு அதே பஸ் வந்து தண்ணிக்காலையும் வாங்கி அப்படியே சுற்றி கொண்டு வந்து திரும்ப லேண்டில் ஏறி திரும்பி கொண்டு வந்து பார்க்கல விட்டது. இப்படி ஒட்டோவாலையும் இருக்குது, கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்கள். அதேமாதிரி இந்த ஹலிஃபேக்ஸில் இதை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தெரியும். இது லேண்ட்லேயும் ஓடும், கடல்லேயும் ஓடும். அதெல்லாம் நாங்கள் இப்போ சுற்றி கொண்டு வரோம். இதுவும் நல்ல ஃபன்னாக இருந்தது. இது வந்து கடல் வந்து உப்பு தண்ணி, கடல் இப்போ உப்பு தண்ணி. இதில் நீங்கள் பார்க்குறீங்களா அப்படி கணக்காக போகுது. லேண்ட்லேயும் இந்த கடல்லேயும் ஓடுற இது அது இந்த ஆக்களை ஏற்றி கொண்டு சுற்றுலா பயணிகளை ஏற்றி கொண்டு அப்படி சுற்றி கொண்டு வரும்.
So, like I mentioned, this story takes place on the morning of December 6th, 1917. We are in the middle of the First World War, and Halifax is a very busy port. We have ships coming in from Europe, going down to Boston, New York, and vice versa. And on that morning, there was a French ship called the Mont Blanc coming into the harbor, just as there was a Norwegian vessel called the Emo leaving the harbor. Now, just ahead of us, by those red and white smokestacks that you see in the distance, that is where the ships met. That is also the narrowest part of the harbor. It is less than 1 kilometer across, and so it was very hard to navigate during that time when the port was very busy. So at 8:45 in the morning, the Mont Blanc is going in, the Emo is going out. They're about to pass each other, and then another small tugboat called the Stella Marie basically jumped in front of and cut off the Emo, which had to swerve out of the way. The Emo swerved and got sent on a collision course with the Mont Blanc. It blew its horn telling the Mont Blanc to move over, but there was no space for it to go, and so the Emo crashed into the Mont Blanc and the vessels rubbed against each other. Now, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal because there was no hole that got created. The ship wasn't going to sink. However, the Mont Blanc was a dangerous ship loaded with all kinds of explosives and munitions for the war. Tons of TNT, gunpowder, gun cotton, wet and dry puric acid, just a litany of chemicals and explosives. When the Emo hit the Mont Blanc, it jostled the cargo, knocking over a number of barrels on the deck of the ship that spilled flammable liquid all over it. And then as the Emo pulled away, the hulls rubbed together, sending up a shower of sparks that lit the Mont Blanc on fire. The crew of the Mont Blanc tried to put out the fire as quickly as they could, but it had spread way too much, and they abandoned ship and swam over to Dartmouth to escape what they knew was about to happen. At about 9:05 in the morning, 20 minutes after that initial collision, the fire made its way all the way down into the cargo hold of the Mont Blanc, and in an instant, the entire ship was ripped apart from the inside out as it exploded in a massive ball of fire. It was, at the time, the largest man-made explosion ever recorded in history, and it was only ever topped by the nuclear bomb. The Halifax explosion remains to this day the largest non-nuclear explosion to have ever happened. In that instant, everything within a half-kilometer radius was flattened and destroyed. People say that for a split second, you could see the bottom of the harbor before all of the water rushed back in, creating a massive wave that did further damage on both sides of the shore. The shock wave of the explosion got sent across the city, shattering every single window on the peninsula in a second, and blinding about 250 people who were standing at their windows looking out at the fire where the glass blasted into their faces. It was one of the largest mass blinding incidents in Canadian history.
இப்போ லேண்ட்லேருந்து கடலுக்கு போய் கடல்லேருந்து திரும்ப லேண்டுக்கு வருது. இது ஒரு இந்த வெளிநாடுகளிலேருந்து வர சுற்றுலா பயணிகளாக இருக்கட்டும், கனடாவில் உள்ள சுற்றுலா பயணிகளாக இருக்கட்டும், இது ஒரு சந்தோஷமான விடயமாக இருக்கும்.
Freeway is rocked. Okay. Then the other already got thrown in the ocean. 呢種石頭屬於花崗岩. This is kind of granite. It's granite. That's why very strong. Okay, very hard.
இப்போ நாங்கள் என்னென்னா இங்கே பெகிஸ் கோவ் என்ற இடத்துக்கு வந்து நாங்கள் ஹாலிஃபேக்ஸில் இது எல்லாம் ஒரே அந்த ட்ராக்ஸ் கல். இங்கே என்னன்னு சொன்னால் அந்த ஐஸ் வின்டர் டைம்லாம் ஐஸ் எல்லாம் இதில் படிஞ்சிருந்து அது கரைஞ்சி அதை மேலே எல்லாம் இந்த மெழுகு மாதிரி ஒரு ஷைனிங்கான கல்லுகளாக இருக்குது. இப்போ நீங்கள் பார்க்கவே தெரியுது இதெல்லாம் பிளந்து இருக்குது. இதில் பார்த்திங்கன்னா கனவேர் வந்து இதில் ரெண்டு பார்க்கணும். இந்த இதில் ஒரு வெளிச்ச வீடு ஒன்று இருக்குது. இதுதான் அந்த கனடாவில் ஸ்டாம்பில் உள்ள ஒரு வெளிச்ச வீடு. இப்போ இங்கே கடிதம் போட்டால் உங்களோட வீட்டை அது 4 நாளையில் வருமாம் அந்த ஸ்டாம்ப் அடித்து வெளிச்ச வீடு. இது வேறு ஒரு இடத்தையும் இந்த ஸ்டாம்ப் எடுக்கலான்ற மாதிரி அவர் கைட் சொல்லியிருந்தார். இதுவும் பார்க்க நல்ல அழகாக இருக்கிறது. சரி உறவுகளே, இன்றைய இந்த காணொளி உங்களுக்கு பிடித்திருக்கும் என நினைக்கின்றேன். மீண்டும் இன்னொரு காணொளியில் சந்திக்கும் வரை உங்களிடமிருந்து விடைபெற்றுக் கொள்வது கனடா அண்ணா விளாக். மறந்து விடாதீர்கள், ஷேர் பண்ணுங்கள், சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்கள், பக்கத்தில் உள்ள பெல் ஐக்கோனை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்கள். அப்பொழுதுதான் நான் போடுகின்ற காணொளி உங்களுக்கு தொடர்ச்சியாக வரும்.